The flames had almost died out when I saw the fifth shadow. It moved just beyond the circle of light, tall, still, watching. And the worst part was, there were only 4 of us left. Every fall, my friends and I had this small tradition, a bonfire deep in the woods behind Miller S. Creek. We'd been doing it since high school. Nothing fancy, just beer, music, and stories, while the air turned cold and the leaves crunched under our boots. This year felt different, though. Maybe because it had been 5 years since we'd all been together. Everyone had jobs now, responsibilities, people waiting for them. But somehow, we all said yes to one more night. There was me, Ethan, then Ryan, the loud one, who never shut up about his camping gear. Max, quiet but sarcastic, who brought the speaker and half the snacks. And Lily, the only one of us who still lived nearby. She said she knew the perfect spot this year, farther out than we'd ever gone before. We parked where the dirt road ended and carried everything on foot. The sun was already setting, that deep orange glow cutting through the trees, turning the world the color of rust. The air smelled of pine and old smoke, and every step we took made the ground sigh with wet leaves. When we found the clearing, it felt right. A perfect circle of bare earth, surrounded by trees that leaned in just enough to muffle the wind. It was beautiful, in a lonely kind of way. We built the fire, and the night slowly wrapped around us. The flames painted our faces gold and orange. Someone played an old playlist from high school, and for a while, it felt like time had folded in on itself, like we were teenagers again. Ryan cracked jokes. Lily told ghost stories she swore were real, and Max filmed short clips on his phone, teasing us about being the last survivors of autumn. By midnight, the air had turned sharp. The woods around us were whispering, dry leaves brushing together like faint applause. The firelight flickered, revealing nothing beyond its reach, just the endless dark of trees. Then Ryan stood up, stretching. "Fire's dying," he said. "I'll grab more wood." We didn't think twice. He took a small flashlight and walked toward the tree line, his beam cutting through the dark for a few seconds before vanishing completely. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Lily called out, laughing at first. "Ryan, you get lost or what?" No answer. The laughter faded, replaced by uneasy silence. Even the woods felt different. Quieter, heavier, the kind of quiet that presses against your chest. Max frowned and replayed one of his clips on the phone. "Maybe I caught him on video before he left," he said. He turned the screen toward us, the glow lighting our faces. The video showed us laughing around the fire, and behind us, just beyond the light, a figure, tall, still, motionless. None of us noticed it while we were there, but it was standing close enough that the flames should have shown its face, except it didn't have one. Lily let out a nervous laugh, but it cracked halfway through. "Come on, that's gotta be Ryan. Maybe the camera just blurred his face." But Max didn't laugh. He replayed it again, slower this time. The flicker of the firelight danced across our faces, the sound of our voices echoing faintly through the phone speaker. And there it was again, that fifth figure, standing motionless just beyond the light, as if the darkness itself had shaped into a person. Ryan had been sitting next to me when Max started filming. There was no way that was him. "Where exactly did you film this?" I asked. "Right here," Max whispered. "Like, right here." The air seemed to shift. The warmth of the fire felt weaker. The woods felt closer, as if they were leaning in. "Okay," I said finally, trying to sound steady. "Let's not freak out. He probably just wandered too far." "I'll go look for him." Lily grabbed my sleeve. "Ethan, no. It's pitch black out there." But I couldn't just sit there doing nothing. I took the flashlight and stepped past the firelight into the trees. The woods were alive with small sounds: crunching leaves, the occasional snap of a twig, the soft hum of wind threading through branches. Every beam of my flashlight revealed floating specks of dust and the wet sheen of fallen leaves. "Ryan," I called out. My voice sounded too loud, swallowed immediately by the forest. Nothing. A few minutes later, I found a small clearing with a half-fallen tree. Someone had stacked firewood nearby, neatly, too neatly. I almost called his name again, but something made me stop. There were footprints around the pile, but they weren't clear, like someone had dragged their feet. Some prints were too long, stretched unnaturally deep into the soil. I backed away, the beam shaking in my hand. A low sound drifted through the trees, like a breath exhaled too close to my ear. Then silence. I turned and ran back toward the firelight, my lungs burning from the cold air. When I stumbled into the clearing, Lily and Max were standing, their faces pale. "Where's Ryan?" Lily demanded. "I didn't find him," I said, catching my breath. "But there's something out there." Max lifted his phone again, hands trembling. "While you were gone, I took another clip." He showed me the video. The camera faced the fire. No one speaking, just the sound of crackling wood. In the background, the dark tree line looked like a wall of black. Then, for a moment, barely a second, the figure stepped forward into the light. It wasn't Ryan. Its movements were too slow, like a puppet being guided by invisible strings. Its head tilted unnaturally, far to one side, and for the briefest flash, I saw what looked like a pale mask, cracked and dirty, reflecting the firelight. The video cut off right after. We didn't speak. The fire popped loudly, breaking the silence, and we all flinched. Lily whispered, "We have to leave. Now." And that's when we heard footsteps. Not from one direction, from all around us. At first I thought it was just my heart pounding, the sound of blood rushing in my ears. But then I realized the footsteps weren't synchronized. Some were slow and heavy, crunching through leaves. Others were faint, dragging. They circled us, just beyond the light of the bonfire, like something was pacing the edge of our tiny safe zone. Max swung the flashlight wildly, the beam cutting through trees and shadows. "Ryan, if this is some kind of joke, I swear." The light caught something between the trunks, a pale face, or the shape of one, vanished before the beam could hold it. Max dropped the flashlight. "No, no, no, no." Lily was shaking. "What was that?" I picked up the flashlight, but the beam had dimmed, flickering like it was dying. "Grab your stuff. We're leaving. Now." We started toward the trail, the same narrow path we'd hiked earlier, but the forest didn't look the same. The trees pressed closer, and every direction looked wrong. It was like the woods had rearranged themselves. Behind us, the fire still glowed faintly, a warm orange circle in the distance. But with every step we took, the sound of crackling faded, replaced by the slow rhythm of footsteps following us. "Don't look back," I said. Lily was crying quietly. "Ethan, where's the car?" I don't remember this part. Neither did I. The trail should have curved downhill, but we were still going straight. Max muttered under his breath, "We should have never come back here." Something whistled through the air, soft but deliberate, like someone exhaling through their teeth. We froze. The sound moved from behind one tree to the next, then to another. It was close enough to feel on our skin, like the air thickened wherever it passed. And then, a voice. At first it was barely audible, a whisper between the trees. "Stay." Lily turned toward the sound. "Ryan, don't," I hissed. But she stepped forward, calling his name again. Her voice trembled, but she sounded hopeful, desperate. We followed her reluctantly, our flashlights bouncing off bark and roots. And then Lily stopped. In front of her was Ryan's backpack, lying on the ground. One of the straps was torn clean through. There was no sign of him, except for a piece of his flannel shirt tangled in the brush. The fabric looked burned at the edges, like it had been near the fire for too long. Max whispered, "He couldn't have..." Before he could finish, something moved. Behind us, fast. Branches cracked. A shadow darted across the corner of my vision. Then, the flashlight died completely. For a few seconds, there was only breathing. Ours and something else's. Deeper, wet, close. I reached for Lily's hand, but she was gone. The darkness around me pulsed with movement, like something crawling just out of reach. And then, a single voice, low and almost human, spoke behind my ear. "You came back." I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my body wouldn't listen. That voice, the way it rasped through the dark, it wasn't Ryan's. It sounded close, inches from my neck. But when I turned, nothing, just blackness. Then, something brushed past my leg. I spun around, flashlight useless, heart beating so hard it hurt. "Lily?" My voice barely made a sound. A few feet away, I heard Max whisper, "Ethan, I can't see you. I'm right here." But before I could finish, there was a scream, short, sharp, and then cut off. It came from where Max had been. Leaves scattered. Something, or someone, was dragged fast into the dark. I ran. Branches tore at my arms. Roots snagged my feet. But I didn't care. The forest blurred into streaks of gray and orange. Somewhere behind me, I could hear movement. Heavy, uneven, like someone running, but not quite human. I reached the clearing again. The fire still burned, smaller now, embers glowing like a dying heart. But there was someone sitting beside it. For a moment, relief hit me like air after drowning. "Ryan." He didn't move. He was sitting perfectly still, staring into the flames. His flannel was charred, the same one we'd found torn in the woods. His skin looked wrong, pale, gray. I stepped closer, shaking. "Ryan, man, what?" He turned his head, slowly, like his neck wasn't working right. His eyes were black, his mouth half open, as if he was about to speak. But no sound came out, just a faint wheezing, like air leaking through wet cloth. Then, behind him, movement. That fifth figure from the video stepped into the light. It was tall. Its clothes hung like damp rags. Its face, if it even had one, was blurred, melting in and out of focus like heat above asphalt. It leaned toward Ryan, one hand on his shoulder, and Ryan smiled, not at me, at it. I stumbled backward, tripping over the log. My head hit the dirt hard enough to blur my vision. By the time I sat up, Ryan and the thing were both standing, side by side, staring down at me. The fire cracked loudly, flaring bright, For a split second, I saw what was under its skin. Something shifting, wrong, like faces pressing against thin plastic from the inside. That's when I realized it wasn't a person. It was many. And one of those faces looked like Lily's. I screamed her name and ran. Through branches, mud, smoke. I didn't stop. I didn't even look back when the firelight finally disappeared behind me. When I burst out of the woods and into the open field near the cars, dawn was breaking. The air smelled of ash, and when I turned back, the smoke rising above the trees wasn't gray. It was black. 2 days later, the police found the campsite. They said there was no sign of my friends, just 4 sets of footprints circling the fire pit. And beneath the ashes, they uncovered an unmarked grave, fresh, right where we'd built our bonfire. I still don't know what I saw that night, or who, or what we invited to join us. The police said the grave had been there for years, but the soil was soft, freshly turned. They never found the others. Their phones, wallets, even the logs from the fire, all gone, like the forest swallowed everything it didn't want remembered. Sometimes, when the weather cools and the leaves start to fall, I drive past that trailhead again. I swear I can see a faint orange glow deep in the trees, like a bonfire still burning, waiting for someone to come back. Maybe it was never meant for us. Maybe every autumn it looks for new faces to sit around the flames. Tell me, if your friends asked you to join one last bonfire in the woods, would you go?